interval I is equal to start and merge all overlapping intervals and return an array of non-overlapping intervals that cover the intervals in the input. So let's look at this question together, shall we? Over here we have intervals, and the intervals are an array with different times that people are working. So, for example, here the person works from 1 to 3, another time is from 2 and ends at 6, another time from 8 and it ends at 10. So, why are we getting this output? You may ask. We are getting it because we start from the first one, which is 1, and then what happens is we want to check, is this contained in this, which it is. So since 3 is between 2 and 6, we're going to just add this 3 here. And so it's going to be 1 and 6, right? Because this can be into 1 since 3 is contained in the second array. Then 8 and 10. The reason why we don't add 15 here is because 15 is not contained inside this range. So it's 1, 6, 8, 10, 15, 18. Right? I'm also going to draw it for you all so that we have an interval. I'm going to use the second example here. We have 1, 4, and then the second interval is 4, 5. Okay? So now, in a situation like this, we see that 4 is actually inside the second interval. So we can just say, if I'm combining it, if I'm merging these two, we can just say it's 1, comma 5. Okay? And I think a number line would help us to represent this very well. So like I said before, a number line would help us to represent it. So let's say that we have values 1 and we also have values 4. And from here, the second interval is values 4, right? And values 5. So since it's in between these two, our interval can just be 1, comma 5. Okay? So one of the things I'll ask is it possible for the value set to be empty, for there to be no intervals? If there's no intervals, then we can make a base case for that. So we can say, I'm going to write it as comments first so we understand exactly what I'm doing. So if there is no intervals, we are going to return none, right? But if there is an interval set, what we're going to do, we're going to create a variable called results, which is an array. Okay, so the variable is an array, which is going to be what we are going to be returning, and that's what we're going to be appending our interval set to. So the first thing we're going to do is that we are going to add the first interval set from the input list. So we're going to first add, in this scenario, we're going to first add 1 to 3. So we're going to say, we're going to append, we're going to append the first interval set from our list, right? From intervals, right? We're going to append the first interval set from intervals. I need to spell that because that's important. To the results array. So we're going to be saying that I'm also going to use console logs to explain what is happening. I'm going to be building the solution step by step, but first I'm going to start by writing the comments. Okay, I'm going to start by writing the comments. So let's look at it together. Um, let's see. I'm going to then, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a variable which I create that is going to be called last added interval. This is to check the interval which was added last. So last added interval variable which will be used, which will check which will check the value, the value that is present in the output list. So the last value present, value present. I'm going to move on to another line. Don't worry, I'm going to cancel all this, but I just want to get the logic right. Present in output list. And I didn't spell present well. Let me fix that real quick. Then another thing that we're going to do is we're going to create variables to store the start and end times of the current interval inside a loop. So this section is going to be happening inside a loop. And what are we looping? We're going to be looping through the intervals array. So this has to be happening inside a loop that loops through each interval. Loops through each interval set. Let me put it like that. Interval set. Not let me not complicate it. But when I say set, I mean these sets, right? Not the other type of sets in programming. What's going to happen is that we're going to have variables that will store the value. So we're going to have a current start and a current end, and we are going to be comparing the values to check for an overlapping condition. So right now I'm going to start coding, but I'm going to be coding using this. Then gradually, if I add an additional step, I would add a comment. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have our base case, which is if not intervals, what are we going to do? If it's not an interval, we're just going to return none. Okay, so if let's say that we got an empty array, base case is that we're going to return none. Now, another thing that we're going to do right now, don't worry, I'm going to get rid of the comments in case it's confusing. We're going to have a results array, which is what we're going to be returning for our examiner to view. Then we're going to iterate through our intervals. So for I in range 1 comma length of interval, what we are going to do is we are going to get the last added interval, which I mentioned here. So the last added interval is going to be last added interval, and we are going to, what are we going to say it is? So it's going to be the results array that we last added. So last added interval is going to be the results array that we added, but inside that results array we're going to be getting the value that is the last appended value, -1. Okay, now let's look at some other things that we're going to be doing. I'm going to be writing down some other steps. So right now what we have done, we have not appended the first interval, so this can't even work. Right now what we have done, we created a results variable, and now I'm going to append the first interval set that we have. So intervals 0 0, which is the first value, 0 0, which is the first value, and then intervals 0 1. 0 1. Okay, now I've appended this. So what this is doing, our last added interval is going to be this. It's going to be the last value inside the results array, the last one that we just added. So let's continue. I'll also do console logs for you to see. Now we're going to have variables to store the start and end time. That was meant to be a comment, but I'm just going to create the variables. I'm going to say current start is equal to intervals, and I want this to be inside my loop because I want to be storing them. Intervals I and 0, and then we're going to have a current end, which is going to be intervals. It's going to be intervals I 1, and then what's going to happen is I'm going to get the previous end interval of the last input list. So prev and it's going to be last added interval. I want to get the last interval there when it ended 1. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is I'm going to create a condition that checks if the values are overlapping. Okay. So let's check if the values are overlapping. So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to use an if statement. So if cur start is less than previous end. So if, for example, one, if for example the current start, let's say is 2, right? Let's say 2 is less than 3, then we know that this is an overlapping interval. So what are we going to do then? Then we are going to say results minus 1, 1. And we're going to say is equal to max occur and comma prev and then we're also going to have an else statement. So in case this is not the case, meaning in case this is not less than this, we are going to say else, just append it as a separate interval inside our results array. So results dot append cur start comma cur end. Okay, then we are going to be returning results. Make sure you do not return inside your loop because that could be a reason why your code might break. So we're going to return results. I'm just going to clean up this code a bit, make it look nice because we like clean, cute code. So let's look at it. Let's run it. Let's see. Okay, I'm getting a. Okay, I misspelled intervals. So let's fix that up. Did I misspell any other thing? Probably. I'll figure it out soon. I want to see my test results. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, so the test cases were accepted. Let's submit. Oh, so it's the wrong answer. So one reason why this might not be working is because my approach already assumes that it might already be sorted already. So what's going to happen is I might have to sort the intervals by their start time just to make sure that I'm not making the same mistake. But this is going to increase the time complexity. So intervals dot sort p lambda, and I want to sort it by the start time. Okay, let's run this. Okay, so this solution was accepted. The time complexity of this will become an O of n log n. This is because I use Python's built-in sort function. And also I'm single passing in through the intervals, which is O of n. If I didn't have to sort this, if I didn't have to sort it, it would have been an O of n, right? But unfortunately, we have to sort it, so it became O of n log n. Then space complexity, the space complexity is O of n, right? Which in the worst case, let's say that no intervals overlap, then we can store n intervals, right? Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Kindly subscribe if you like this video and you like what I'm doing, right? You can share these videos with other people, let them know. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, YouTube family. I will see you again in the next video. Bye.